Commander Zethkar of the Hegemony Intelligence Division stared at the smoking remains of what had been the most sophisticated virtual reality containment system in the known galaxy. The quantum processors that had cost 3 solar systems worth of resources were now nothing more than melted crystalline slag, and the backup servers had suffered catastrophic cascade failures that defied every law of computational physics. "Explain this to me again," Zethkar said, his 4 eyes narrowing as he turned to face the trembling technician beside him. Senior Engineer Velthak consulted her datapad with shaking appendages. The human subject was successfully captured during the raid on the research vessel Endeavour. Standard protocol dictated immediate neural containment to prevent any potential sabotage or information extraction. And the simulation parameters? Maximum security setting, Commander. We created a perfect replica of the human's home planet. Earth, they call it. Every detail was accurate down to the molecular level. The simulation was designed to be indistinguishable from reality, with built-in psychological comfort zones to keep the subject docile and compliant. Zethkar gestured at the destruction surrounding them. Clearly, something went wrong. Dr. Sarah Chen, the captured human xenoarchaeologist, had seemed unremarkable when they'd first brought her aboard. Average height for her species, brown hair tied back in what humans called a ponytail, wearing simple research attire. She'd been studying ancient Forerunner ruins when the hegemony forces had discovered her team's illegal excavation. While her colleagues had been processed through standard interrogation protocols, something about her academic credentials had flagged her for the simulation program. The hegemony had been using virtual containment for centuries. It was considered the most humane and effective method of long-term prisoner management. Subjects could live entire lifetimes in carefully crafted digital worlds, while their captors extracted information through subtle manipulation and observation. The technology had a perfect success rate across 47 different species. "What was the human doing when the cascade began?" Zethkar demanded. Velthak pulled up the final recorded data. The subject had been in the simulation for approximately 4.7 seconds. She was standing in what appeared to be a recreation of her home city, New Geneva. Weather patterns were nominal, all environmental factors within acceptable parameters. Then what? She looked at the sky, Commander. That's all. She just looked up at the sky. The recording showed Dr. Chen materializing in the middle of a busy Earth street, exactly as she would have remembered it. Hover cars moved through designated air lanes. Holographic advertisements flickered from building surfaces, and humans in modern attire went about their daily business. The simulation had rendered everything perfectly. Every reflection, every sound, every scent carried on the artificial breeze. For 4.7 seconds, Sarah Chen had stood motionless, taking in her surroundings. Then she'd tilted her head back and gazed upward at the blue sky dotted with white clouds. "What did she see that we missed?" Zethkar asked. "According to our analysis, nothing anomalous. The sky was rendered with complete accuracy. Proper light wavelength distribution, atmospheric particle density, cloud formation algorithms based on actual meteorological data from Earth." But Dr. Chen had smiled. A small, knowing expression that the monitoring systems had flagged as unusual. She'd whispered something that the audio pickups had barely caught. "Wrong stars." The cascade failure had begun immediately. "Impossible," Zethkar muttered, reviewing the data himself. The stellar positions were accurate to within 0.001 degrees of arc. "We used actual astronomical surveys from their own databases." Velthak's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. "Commander, I think the human knew things about her own star system that weren't in any database." The implications hit Zethkar like a plasma bolt to the thorax. The simulation had been perfect according to every piece of data they possessed about Earth and its solar system. But Sarah Chen, a xenoarchaeologist who spent her time studying ancient civilizations, had somehow detected an error so subtle that it hadn't appeared in any official record. The technical log showed what happened next. Upon recognizing the flaw, Dr. Chen hadn't panicked or tried to escape. Instead, she'd begun to systematically examine her environment with the methodical precision of a scientist who'd spent decades learning to spot inconsistencies in archaeological reconstructions. She'd run her fingers along a wall, noting that the texture was 0.0002% smoother than it should have been. She'd listened to the sound of traffic and detected that the engine harmonics were missing specific frequencies, that only someone who'd grown up around Earth vehicles would notice. She'd tasted the air and found that it lacked the particular combination of pollutants unique to New Geneva's industrial district. Each discovery had created a feedback loop in the simulation's adaptive algorithms. The system had attempted to correct these minute flaws in real time, but Dr. Chen's rate of detection had exceeded the processing capacity of the quantum cores. She'd been finding and cataloging errors faster than the most advanced computational system in the galaxy could fix them. It's like she knew her reality better than our machines could simulate it, Velthak observed. But it was more than that, and Zethkar was beginning to understand why humans had been such an unexpected threat to the hegemony's expansion. It wasn't just that Sarah Chen knew her environment. It was that she approached everything with a scientist's skepticism, constantly questioning, constantly analyzing, never accepting anything at face value. The simulation hadn't failed because of any technical inadequacy. It had failed because they'd tried to contain a mind that was fundamentally incompatible with artificial limitations. Humans, it seemed, were natural breakers of systems, natural questioners of authority, natural enemies of any attempt to impose false realities upon them. As Zethkar stood amid the wreckage of their most sophisticated containment system, watching the human walk calmly through the facility's corridors after somehow materializing outside her cell, he realized that the hegemony had made a critical error in judgment. They'd assumed that all sentient species could be controlled through the same methods that had worked for centuries, but humans weren't just another species to be cataloged and contained. They were something far more dangerous. A species that refused to accept the boundaries others tried to impose upon them, no matter how sophisticated those boundaries might be. Dr. Sarah Chen paused at the command center's entrance, looked directly at Zethkar through the reinforced viewport, and smiled that same knowing smile she'd worn in the simulation. Then she continued walking, and Zethkar knew with absolute certainty that no prison they could devise would ever hold her for long. Humanity had just taught the galaxy's most advanced civilization a lesson about the power of an indomitable spirit and an inquiring mind. The program hadn't just crashed, it had been demolished by the simple act of a human being human.